我是本次活动的联合主持人之一，来自中国以色列商会的董静一。同时也向您介绍我们身在以色列的我的同事金斯利女士。如果您希望用中文提问的话呢，可以私信发给我，我们将协助您得到解答。OK。
Thank you, Jeannie. So yes, Jeannie represented IsCham in Chinese. I will just say that welcome everyone. We're really happy to have you here with us on this webinar. I'm Tzlil from Derech Hameshi, the representative of IsCham in Israel, and the strategical partner. We do this kind of event on a monthly basis when our main goal is to connect Chinese and Israeli companies in different sectors and potentially find business opportunities for them. Today's seminar is mainly focusing on it's a learning seminar. We hope you all enjoy and learn new information. So I just a few guidelines about the agenda. So it will be a 1.5 hour seminar in which each participant will have a 15 to 20 minutes pitch. We'll start with Dr. Galia from Sheba Hospital, who will give an overview of the telemedicine situation in Israel, and then 3 different Israeli tech companies in the field of telemedicine will share with us their innovative solutions. After each session, we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A. So you can prepare your question in advance. You can send it, as we said, in the chat room, or you can unmute yourself and speak loud. We will be happy to hear you and also see you. So even now, if you want to put your videos, you're welcome to do so. I think we're ready to start. Let's see that Dr. Galia Barkai is here with us. I'll put you on spotlight so you can also start. Yes, I see you. Hi, Galia.
Hi, nice to be here. Can I share my screen as well?
Of course, you're on now.
Wait a second.
Okay, I will put the agenda for now so people will see.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so hi, I'm very pleased to be here. Good afternoon to you too. My name is Galia. I'm a pediatric infectious disease specialist. I'm the head of the pediatric infectious disease unit here in Sheba, and I'm also the head of the telemedicine programs here in Sheba as part of the ARC, which is the innovation center of Sheba. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit and share our experience with how we use the telemedicine tools to fight actually with the corona when it got here to Israel. So let's start with a few words about our center, since I don't know if you know already about Sheba, but Sheba is the largest hospital in Israel. It has about 1.5 million clinical visits per year. It's a 2,000 bed hospital. We have about 50,000 cancer patients. At any moment, we have 11,000 births, babies born every year. So really, it's the largest Israeli hospital, and therefore it has been nominated as one of the 10 world's best hospitals by the Newsweek. Last year it was the 10th. This year it was the 9th. So we're really proud about it, and we think it's a really innovative medical center. For this, Sheba has created a new innovation innovation center named ARC, which is a new concept. The name ARC came from our new medical innovation center named ARC has new priorities, which achieves for collaboration with international hospitals, innovation infrastructure, and especially focus on digital health and open innovation center. So for this ARC Innovation Center in Sheba, we have different hubs that deal and focus with different fields that we believe in Sheba need to promote innovation. One is personalized medicine, which is about genomics, proteomics, microbiomics, patient-reported outcomes, etc., which is really doing a lot to make medicine personalized. Another one is for big data and AI, and it uses predictive analytics algorithms, decision support algorithms, and a lot about digital imaging and analysis. We've also a hub that deals with VR and AR, another one with rehabilitation, a separate hub that deals with the operating rooms of the future, especially robotics and automation and AI-based navigation. And I'm the head of the telemedicine, the telemedicine hub in Sheba, and we're dealing with new services, especially services for chronic conditions using telemedicine that allows a continuous treatment. We do it using sensors, wearables. We have our own telemedicine platform, and we're planning to do hospital at home programs. So really, we have all this innovation going on as basic activities of Sheba Medical Center, but our present story began on February 16, when we still didn't have Corona in Israel, when we were told that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu decided to bring Israelis that were on the cruise ship Diamond Princess that was in Japan, and were exposed to Corona on the boat. They were supposed to be brought home to Israel. I remind you that there was still no Corona in Israel, so we were the ones bringing Corona to Israel. And we had about 3 days to operate a new facility, to make them an isolated facility that would allow for care, medical care, but also in which we will have to protect our people, our staff members, from contracting coronavirus. And we had really a short time to create a new medical facility, and we started operating really quickly. And there also later on, when the inflow of Corona patients in Israel started, we understood that it was a battle mode. We have now to fight Corona quickly and to do everything to treat people, to isolate patients, to find new drugs, etc. And we asked ourselves, isn't it time now to continue doing innovation, or in this crisis time, or we should just be dealing with treatment of patients and doing what we should really do to help the sick people? But then we understood that so much is unknown about this virus, about the treatment, the diagnostics, and everything, that not only there's a need for innovation right now, which is urgent, but also it's a big opportunity for innovation. So we started that we'd enhance our efforts that we're doing anyway day to day, and we start working harder on innovation. And therefore, I won't go into every one of the hubs, but we had several efforts going on the same time on finding solution in different areas to start with to deal with the COVID program. For example, there was a special effort on finding ventilation ventilation solution. We used some solutions that took some BPAP machine and transformed them to really ventilating machines. We have efforts in diagnostics, in therapeutics, and I'm of course dealing with the telemedicine. So the first thing we had to do is to find a place for these Israelis coming back and create a new mode. What we did is we found an isolated area in the hospital that was used as dormitories for students, and we decided that this would be the isolated Corona unit. It was far from it was not inside the main campus of Sheba, and we had to arrange the place for the patients to come in a few days. But we made a model in which we wanted, as I told you before, to give the highest level medical care as we do in Sheba, but to maximally protect the staff, and that meant minimal physical contact. We wanted to do a zero contact a facility where we won't have to come into, because as I told you before, there were healthy patients that we thought that they could become positive for corona, and they might need some special care, but in the beginning they were just healthy patients. So what we did is that we put all kinds of technologies in the facility, and we arranged for them to be able to use the technology in the facility, but we put outside of the facility a tent, which activated as a control room. They had all the medical staff was situated in the tent with all kinds of screens where they could see the medical files, the x-rays, and they could monitor the patient from distance. We called it the teletent, and most of the time the medical staff was there and not in physical contact with the patient, except when really they did need them to go inside. So how did we do it? We wanted to harness the telemedicine technologies that we were already starting to use before, but not so much in use. We always use telemedicine technology to treat patients that were distant from us. This was the first time when we wanted to use technologies to treat inpatients, because the goal was different, to protect our staff. So we wanted to do three things: to communicate with them, to monitor them, and to be able to perform physical examination if they got sick. And for all these things, we used Israeli technologies that would help us do that. So how did we do that? For communication, we did all kinds of backup systems because we were afraid that it would be hard for them to operate, for the patients to operate these systems. So we put in the rooms telephones, regular telephones, cell phones. We put emergency press buttons and security cameras. But we used also an Israeli technology named Unipel. What's Unipel? Unipel actually is a simple TV box that you put on top of your TV screen, and it turns any television to an interactive personal companion. It also had a simple remote control that's really, really easy to use and has a built-in microphone, and patients can talk to us through this remote control. This is how we did our everyday morning rounds with the patients. We would sit in the control room, and the patients would talk to us through the television screens they had on their walls with the remote control. It was really easy to use, and we found out that most of the patients use it really easily without us having to instruct them in advance too much. It was really easy to explain. We also used this technology to perform group visits because it was based on Zoom technology. So, for example, this is Professor Gili Regev, which is the head of the infection control unit, explaining to the patients coming from the ship about coronavirus, about the isolation measures. We also use this to do group sessions with therapists, to do physical activity because they were isolated in the room. So we did physical activities using this platform. We had a special room in which we used it for social workers and psychologists because we understood the isolation really needed to be addressed by social workers and psychologists. This was the hard part of it. And we also made a special room where the technology was available to speak with the patients when the families came to the hospital and wanted to transfer some goods, some food, some clothes to the patients. They would go into this family room and could connect with the patient. So that was our main ways of communicating. We knew that if we couldn't communicate with them, we wouldn't be able to do this zero contact system. The second thing we wanted to do is to monitor the patient. So we left in the room blood pressure cuffs, thermometers, oxygen saturation devices for patients to self-monitor themselves while they were awake, and they would report by telephone 3 times a day, at least 3 times a day, their vital signs. But in addition, we put another Israeli technology, which is called EarlySense. I believe you will hear about them soon. Are they talking today, EarlySense? Yeah, so I won't go into it. It's a contact-free continuous monitor for heart rate, respiratory rate, and motion, and it also has an AI-based algorithm that can predict deterioration. So I will let them talk more thoroughly about it. And for physical examination, we also use an Israeli technology, which is named Untitled Chapter. Untitled Chapter is actually a set of a system that can help you listen to the patient's heart and lungs and transmit it to outside the room. So for example, a patient can examine himself or herself and also look at the throat and ears and transmit it to the physician outside, or if a nurse comes in or another health worker, they can help check the patient and transmit the examination results outside. It has a really easy to use application, but because we didn't want the patients to have to download the app, we left them in the room, tablets with the application already downloaded to it to make it simpler to use. This is Dr. Gadi Segal examining one of the patients with Taito in his morning round. Another thing we use, this is not Israeli, but we use it a lot, especially later on when we built an ICU for corona patients, is the InTouch telepresence robot, which in this first facility, we put it in a special care room, and it allowed for better communication with the staff when they were inside the facility. We see that when the patients become more severe and need mechanical ventilation or maybe ECMO, it's really helpful to have such a good telepresence device in the room. Then some really relatively low number of people need to be inside the room, and most of the consultants can be outside the room. They can monitor the patient through this telepresence robot. This is how it operates in the ICU that we built in our parking lot. This, instead of the control room now, they have a big room with a lot of screens when they can see everything and also operate this robot. And the robot is inside. It can go from bed to bed, and it has a very, very good camera that can see every little detail in the monitor, on the screen, on the patient, on the wall, etc. So this was the first effort we made when we had to deal with the coronavirus, but very quickly we understood that most of the patients won't be very severe patients, and we wanted to get ready to do home hospitalization for the patients that were less severely affected by corona. And for this, we used our Sheba's Datos Health application, which we made 3 levels, actually 2 home levels of medical care. We created protocols for really asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic patients, which was really scalable because it used self-examination of just oxygen temperature and oxygen saturation and temperature 3 times daily. Patients would upload the measurements onto the application, and the app will send them reminders, and once daily it would perform video visits, and we put an on-call ID physician for consultation 24/7. We also made a box which contained other more sophisticated tools for more severe patients that would allow for better monitoring of the patients. So therefore, we created a zero-touch telemedicine toolkit that would allow monitoring, physical examination, and management of patients as in the hospital as well as in their house. The third effort that we did using telemedicine was to allow continuity of care of all our patients that were now unable to reach the hospital due to the social distancing measures. the most affected patients, the cancer patient, the psychiatric patients, the internal medicine patients with the congestive heart disease, etc., were not able to come to the hospital for continuity of care, of their chronic disease care. So we use for this also Datos application, our Datos application, to allow for a secure video conferencing system in just by writing the telephone number, and the patient would receive a text message. He would he would click on the link, and they would be transmitted immediately to a video visit, a secure video visit. And of course, we did all the operations so that the whole visit would be recorded, and the administration would, all the administration around it. So this was a really important effort, since in about 2 weeks, we rose from almost a few tens of telemedicine user providers to more than 1,000. This is not updated. Now we're on already have more than 1,000 users in the hospital that use this technology for video visits. And by now, about more than 20% of all our outpatient visits are performed through telemedicine. We have about 800 video visits a day. Even now, when people can already come back to the hospital and they're allowing us to drive to the hospital, since I think one of the greatest achievements is that people continue to use this technology, even that when it's not obligatory. So in summary, these were our telemedicine efforts: is the medical care for isolated corona patients, the facility I told you about for inpatients, the home hospitalization for corona patients model that we constructed, and the third is the continuity of care for non-corona patients, ambulatory patients, which I think is not less important. Yeah? 1 minute, okay? 1 minute. We also do some research and innovation around these fields, which I won't go into it now. I just want to sum it up by saying that telemedicine can provide a comprehensive services solution that's highly scalable. It already exists, and in time of crisis, it really presents us with opportunity. And I think the COVID-19 pandemic might be remembered as the turning point for digital transformation in general and telemedicine specifically. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Galia. We already started to receive some questions for you, so we're moving to the Q&A session. Before that, I just want to mention, first of all, thank you and hello and welcome to everyone who's here with us, and the hospitals that we invited and are here, and we are very happy to have you with us. I want to remind you all that after this webinar, you will be able to have B2B meetings, not today, but next week. We will help you to arrange B2B meetings with the participant, including with the doctors from Sheba. So just contact us for this. Please use the chat box for Q&A questions only, and let's try to keep it in the Q&A session time. So for the first question, Galia, can you see it? You see on the chat the questions? You received one. I received some privately. I will send you.
I can look at the questions.
In the chat room.
BioBit is a patch or a watch. This is not for me. Wait, let's go up.
No, this is the only question. So start with the Ofer Chapa question.
Where is it? About the BioBit?
About the watch. You just
yeah. So BioBit is a technology we also use. They have a watch and a patch. We use the patch to treat to monitor some of our patients more severe. It has a patch that really can that monitors many cardiovascular parameters, oxygen saturation, even cardiac output, and all kinds of cardiac parameters, including a 1-lead ECG. Also respiratory rate, heart rate, blood pressure, etc. So yeah.
Okay, Ofer, I hope this answered your question. I received another question in privacy. I'm sending it now to all, so I will read it for you as well. What kind of diseases are the natural targets for this technology, so the telemedicine technology that you presented?
I'm not sure I understand.
I guess the question here is, it was translated from Chinese, so I guess the question is what kind of diseases you target with this technology?
So actually, I believe that telemedicine has a lot of targets that we can use. A lot of use cases where we can use the technology for helping us treat better our patients. I think one of the major issues we're dealing with, at least in my hospital, is better treatment of chronic care patients. I think in every chronic condition, we can use telemedicine tools to better communicate with our patients, to get more parameters from sensors, different sensors. We're using questionnaires. So it allows us better communication with patients that need chronic care, and it allows us to better monitor their disease and even predict when they're deteriorating, and be able to help quicker. So I believe every disease. Some of the patients we're treating here in Sheba, we're doing outpatient clinics for everything. This is just regular video visits, but we're doing some special care in special fields. For example, we have a type 1 diabetes virtual clinic in which the doctors can receive all the data from the continuous glucose monitors, from the insulin pumps, from patients' questionnaires. The doctors can receive all this information, and they can contact the patients via video. And when they contact the patient and have a video visit, they already have a lot more information, and the visit can be much more helpful and much more efficient. This is one field. Another field, we're doing cardiac rehabilitation. We're using Garmin watches and our technology and our data platform to perform all the activities needed and tailored to the patient for cardiac rehabilitation, which is usually all kinds of sports, but also all the different staff members that need to be connected to the patient, such as physiologists, cardiologists, dietitians, psychologists. They all can connect through the platform and convey the treatment, which is long-term treatment. We do it for other diseases. Parkinson, we're planning to start now. Cystic fibrosis patients or other lung diseases patients, they can all be better monitored using the technologies, and we believe it can leverage the level of care to them.
I see another question from Bai. Oh, wait, sorry. Now there's two questions. So Bai Ching, we will finish in these two questions. Sorry for the time limit. First is Bai Ching. Do you think that one day, based on big data analysis, AI will play a leading role in daily clinical practice?
Yes, we're already starting to use some of these things. For example, today I just had a talk with an Israeli company that uses data from patients to produce algorithms that can help us better conduct special treatment programs from each one of them, or how to approach them to recruit them better to receive the treatment by means of knowing different types of personality regarding the way they answer questions. So we're starting to use these systems already.
Okay, great. I see one last question. I'm sure you have more questions, and we will be able to.
So the question about the geriatric patient.
Evelyn, yes.
So I will tell you about the geriatric patients. So many of them can use technology, and we're doing as much as we can to use the simpler way to use the technology. We're trying to find simple tools for simple use of technology. So yes, many of them are able to use the technologies, and also we're using a lot or utilizing the caregivers of the patients. We're making them also part of the treatment group, and many times we can treat geriatric patients with help of their caregiver at home, either a family member or some patients that of some nurse that help them or other caregivers that help them. We also have for example, a program for psychiatric hospitalization home hospitalization for psychiatric patients. So in this system as well, we use a caregiver from the family to help us with the technology, with the communication. So yes, we can do that.
I see one last question from the Second People's Hospital. We cannot ignore them. So if you can answer them, do you also use this technology in usual time, not only in the COVID-19?
Yes, of course. I think that one reason that it was so easy to deploy so quickly those programs was because we were starting already to use them before. Our psychiatric program that I told you about, the diabetes program I told you about, the cardiac rehabilitation, and they were all starting, they were all before the COVID-19. What I think that now the COVID-19 pandemic really helped to remove many barriers, because much more patients and caregiver staff began to use technology, and they saw that it really can help them and give them more value to the treatment. So yes, it started before, and now I believe everything will be much easier.
Thank you very much, Galia. I apologize for those of you who still have more questions and we don't have the time. We will collect all your questions and we will send it to the speakers after the event. So don't worry, all your questions will be answered eventually.
Can I answer a question?
1 minute, because we have
Derech asked me about the limitation and where we think that still require hands-on approach. Of course. The telemedicine programs, the video visits are not instead of physical contact with the patients, and I believe we'll get back to touching our patients and having physical visits. I think it just has to help give us more tools to do some more efficient and to replace some of the activities. Of course, there's no one system that applies for all. It's in every field in life, there's no one system that applies for all. I think we should find the ways in which telemedicine technologies can leverage our treatment, can help us, can decrease barriers, but it's not instead of us doctors, and it's not instead of touching and feeling patients. Physical examination is the best when you do it one-on-one.
Thank you very much again to Galia Barkai. I'm sure we will have more questions. Again, you can reach us for further questions and we will contact you. Toda. Toda rabba. So our next speaker is Eldad Shemesh. He's the CEO of Cardiac Sense. I hope I'm saying it right. Please correct me. He will share with us about remote patient treatment, changing healthcare delivery. So Eldad, I'm unmuting you. You're welcome to, and I'm putting you on spotlight. Please, welcome.
Hi. Welcome, everyone. I will share my screen. So let's speak a little bit about Cardiac Sense. Cardiac Sense is a monitoring company. We have developed a watch and now a wristband for long-term continuous monitoring of all the vital signs, chronic cases, and heart arrhythmias. We've conducted many clinical trials. The last 2 of them were on specific arrhythmia called atrial fibrillation. And these clinical trials were submitted to CE and FDA. And we have already started the process for CFDA with its old name as CFDA. We have started sales and already crossed the $20 million orders. We'll start shipping devices on Q4 this year. On the left, you can see the watch, which was mainly designed for people at home. And on the right is the wristband, which was designed for a hospital. We will go through the differences between the two devices later on. The watch and the wristband comes to answer for very wide needs. First, on the cardiovascular ones, meaning all the vital signs and arrhythmias, including parameters which are non-medical ones, meaning do not need FDA, CE, and CFDA clearances, such as mental stress, sleep analysis, calories burned, and so on. We have developed a unique technology, one that allows us, we have 5 different elements, 5 different hardware sensors that allows us to get the performance we have, starting from a bit by bit heart rate measurements with the same accuracy as Holter. We can measure blood pressure accurately without an inflating cuff. And we can measure respiratory rate in the same accuracy of capnographs. On top of that, because of being continuous, we have added SpO2 to be measured continuously. This is the watch. It has all sorts of sensor. It has the SpO2 sensor on the side. It has spot check ECG. It has core temperature, a sensor that is already FDA approved. It has respiratory rate sensor. And it has the artifact sensor, which is a sensor that allows us to take care of motion artifacts. This is the wristband. It has 2 additional features that were designed mainly for hospital. The first is continuous ECG. If you plug a connector to the side of the band with wires that goes to the upper arm, you will get continuous ECG. On top of that, it has this display that looks like a sticker, but it's a display that allows the nurses to communicate with the inpatient. If a nurses send a message from the nurse station to the inpatient, the wristband will vibrate and the message will be shown here on this display. On the back of it, we have the emergency button that the patient can press to get the attention of nurses and doctors. Besides that, it has on the band itself, not part of the wristband, but on the band of it, we have what we call the blood pressure clip that allows us to measure continuous blood pressure and oxygen saturation. This is being done over the radial artery. I won't go down into the small details of the watch, but the watch, as many other devices, use the optical sensors called PPG. And we have an additional sensor that we call artifact sensor that allows us to detect tendon movements in the wrist, and by that exclude the periods of time where data is corrupted. This is what allows us to get very high accuracy. Comparing to other devices like the Apple Watch, we have sensitivity and specificity for heart rate and arrhythmia detection, which is 99% and above. If you're looking at the Apple Watch, is in the order of 70s. These are the two clinical trials that were submitted to the FDA, CE and CFDA. On the first trial on the left, we had 24 patients that were tested in ambulatory conditions with the Holter device as reference, and we had to prove that we are bit by bit correlated, our optical sensor, to the Holter. The FDA asked for accuracy of 96%, and we showed 99%. And in this trial, we had them all. We had obese, underweight, very dark skin, old, young, driving, walking, sitting, all the different cases. On the second trial, the FDA asked that we will run a test with atrial fibrillation patients and healthy patients of all types, meaning people that have permanent, persistent, paroxysmal, and patients that went through cardioversion procedure. And they asked for accuracy of 95%. And we showed 99% and above on both our optical sensor and ECG sensors. Blood pressure. Because of being a continuous sensor, we had to work with a continuous reference. The only continuous reference available today, which is accepted by the FDA, is the invasive sensor called arterial line. So we have conducted the test at intensive care units where arterial lines are being used almost on each patient. And on one hand, there was the arterial line, and on the second wrist, it was our device. And we have conducted more than 200 hours of tests. In this case, you can see 2.5 hours. This is the systolic only, where we took 9,000 measurements, a measurement per heartbeat. And the accuracy we have is shown below, which far exceed what the FDA asked. Which looks very good, but the system was not robust enough, meaning it was dependent on the place the way you wear the watch. So we have updated the design to overcome these issue. And we are running tests these days, and will submit to FDA in a couple of months. Respiratory rate. 1 minute? Okay. So we have a unique sensor that measures respiratory rate in an accuracy of capnograph. We have shown it on all different of scenarios. The sensors that we have on the blood pressure clips give us continuous measurement of SpO2. We can skip all of these. When speaking about arrhythmias, there is one important one that called cardiac arrest, which kills many people. We have proved that we detect 10 out of 10 cases of cardiac arrest. The watch connects with our application and with the monitoring centers, and can be used at home or at hospital. On the left, this is how bedside monitors looks today. In less than 2 hours, it will be looking like in the center. It will be one device that will do it all. We have all sorts of cooperations and clinical trials that we are running. We expect to have all the indications cleared by CE and FDA by mid-2021. That's about it.
Thank you very much, Eldad. I see you already received a few questions from Evelyn, so you can start by replying them. If you see, I can read it out loud so everyone can hear as well. How many patients did the trials include? Did you see bias due to skin type, moisture, using of creams, etc.? Is there a bias if a patient takes the watch down? She says it's fascinating results and therefore the questions.
Okay, so it was 24 patients partitioned into 6 subgroups. One group was the very dark skin, skin type 5 and 6. And accuracy there was still 99%. One group was due to age, one group to BMI, one group was AFib. There actually moisture is not really an issue these days, not only for us, for our competitors as well. But we didn't see any problem with moistures. If someone takes the watch down, we know that. We have 2 sensors that can tell us if the watch was taken off the wrist. At that point, we stop measuring.
Thank you. I received another question about your activity in China. Are you already selling any of the products?
No, we are looking for the right partnership in China. We are in discussion with several institutes. But China is a big country. They have more than 20 regions. And we are looking for the right partners in each of the region. We have started the CFDA process and expect to launch the device in China on Q1 2021.
Okay, this is important information because I received more questions related to the activity. I will send it to you later privately. I see here in the chat, the Second People's Hospital. I'm not sure what they meant by how much. By the way, you can also unmute yourself if you want, or write in Chinese. I'm reminding you. Maybe they meant the price of the product.
The price of the product, we expect the price to be in the order of $700 to $900 for the end customer.
I hope this is what they meant. We don't have time for more questions. The ones that I received, we will send you. We can't unmute yourself. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not good. Okay, good to know. Thank you, Evelyn, for telling me. We will try to fix it, but so far, so you can use the chat box. Thank you, Eldad.
You're welcome.
We will send you more. If you have more questions for Eldad later, Eyal is also here, and we will send them later, all your questions by mail. Thank you very much. We will move to our next speaker for today. I hope I can't see him yet, but if you wave for me, it's Ziv. It should be Ziv from EarlySense. Here, I see you now. Thank you, Ziv. I'm unmuting you.
Thank you.
So Ziv is going to share with us, actually it's a continuation of Sheba's presentation. Please go ahead, present yourself.
Thank you, Tzlil. 王上好，中国朋友们，我会说一点点中文，但是不太好，所以今天我说英文。So I will introduce EarlySense and I will share my screen and then I will start. So do you see it in presentation mode? Okay, thank you. So as introduced earlier by Galia, we are part of the effort in Sheba, but I will start by introducing a little bit about what EarlySense is and what we do. And then I will dive into our contribution and how we help the effort of fighting COVID-19. So we are a patient monitoring system which is placed under the mattress. The sensor is placed under the mattress and passively collects heart rate and respiratory rate and other vital signs from the patients which are lying on the bed. We then transfer the data to our bedside monitors and also to the central display station. We are FDA and CE and very soon CFDA approved. We sell in basically all over the world. We exist for 10 years. We've been selling our products for 10 years in Israel, in the US, in Asia, in Japan, in China, in Korea, and most of Asia. And basically the way it works is that the sensor collects data every 2 seconds. And the data is then translated into an average of the past 1 minute. And we display the heart rate and respiratory rate, and we notify on any kind of changes in the patient's trend. The way it is installed is that in every ward you have a sensor which is placed under the mattress and then the bedside unit. All are streamlined into a central display station that can also synchronize with the hospital's EMR and also have an external connection to a paging system which we provide. So the value of EarlySense is that we can help in monitoring patient continuously without any need of the patient to actually interact. So I saw a question earlier regarding geriatric patients. So one of the most common use cases for EarlySense is with elderly patients, because there is no need to comply, there is no need to connect with anything. The sensor is under the bed, under the mattress, so as soon as the patient gets on the bed, then it automatically starts to be monitored. It's also extremely helpful with fall prevention, with pressure ulcer protocols, and with sleep management. So there are many different clinical applications, and the system is mostly in use in hospital and also in post-acute environments and long-term care facilities and so on. Specifically for COVID-19, as soon as Sheba started their first COVID-19 tent, they already took units that were installed in Sheba in the geriatric department and reinstalled them in the tent to monitor the patients. And the best case use for EarlySense is with patients which are mild to asymptomatic. It allows you to identify deterioration because COVID-19 is a respiratory disease and EarlySense monitors the respiratory rate. Then when we identify changes in the respiratory rate in terms of faster and shallower breathing, then we can issue a notification, and then the clinical team can decide if to put the patient on a more aggressive protocol. Sorry, I had a phone call interrupting, apologize. There is no need to attach anything to the patient. And the second most important value is that a team can monitor the patients from far away. So the sensor is under the bed, but the screen can actually be in the central command tent or in the hallway, and you don't actually need to go into the room in order to monitor the patients. So you don't need to scrub and dress up and wear. It can take up to 1 hour to dress up to take vital signs. So by using EarlySense, you can monitor a very large group of patients for their vital signs without actually the need to get close to them. So we protect the patients, but at the same time, we also protect the medical teams. So this turned out to be very valuable while the COVID-19 started. And many hospitals in Israel utilized and are utilizing to date EarlySense as a measure of dealing with COVID-19. I have a clip here, which I believe you won't be able to hear, but you can see a few visuals from a hospital in the south of Israel, which is called Barzilai. So this is how the sensor is placed under the mattress. And as soon as the sensor is placed under the mattress in the hospital, the patient is monitored. And here you can see the vital signs, the heart rate and the respiratory rate. This is some of the code in the background. And EarlySense can also be integrated with other systems such as pulse oximetry, for example. So if we look at the central display station, then we have an integrated view of all the patients in the ward, and every patient can have its vital signs displayed, and you don't need to get to every actual bed. So this is very relevant for COVID-19, but overall it is very useful for general care, med-surg departments in hospitals and post-acute environments, such as elderly care and so on. Here we can see Professor Galia Rahav, which is the head of the epidemic unit in Sheba Tel HaShomer, and behind her the screen, and you can see all the red lines, which are the respiratory rate alerts. So these alerts are actually a result of a combination of our hardware and software and our algorithms that actually, as soon as a patient gets on the bed, we start to identify their unique patterns. And if there are any kind of patterns that match COVID-19 patients' respiratory patterns, then we will issue a notifying alert regarding their potential deterioration. So there is a window of identifying deterioration and providing early warning. These are real patients from Sheba that I'm sharing here with you today, and you can see from our screens, this was a patient from March 6th, where he started to develop, the blue line is the respiratory rate, where he started to develop a high respiratory rate, and then the first notification was issued on March 6th. This is another patient. You can see here the unstable respiratory and heart condition of this patient. So by using these data sets, we've been able to build a profile of COVID-19 patients and use them to issue early alerts. A little bit about our company. Like I said, we have a very strong global customer base. Our largest market is in the US, but we're also well established in China and in Asia in general. We have hospitals in Hong Kong, Queen Mary, in Queen Elizabeth, and Grantham. In Shenzhen, we're in the people number 2, and in Peking University, and in other hospitals across China, in Tianjin as well, and of course in Europe and in Israel. We have several global partnerships. The most strategic one is with Hillrom. Hillrom is a medical bed manufacturer. We have an integrated product. Every Centrella bed by Hillrom that leaves the factory has an EarlySense integrated inside the bed, and there is a bedside monitor, EarlySense powered bedside monitor integrated in the bed. So this is a Hillrom equipped with EarlySense inside bed that was launched last year, and already has more than 50,000 beds across the US. We have partnerships with Philips, with Welch Allyn. In China, we have a local partner, a Shenzhen-based company called Yanxin. They are a daughter company of United Imaging, and they are integrating EarlySense into their smart ward product. So like I said, we exist from 2004. We have all the regulatory approvals. We have tens of clinical studies and thousands of clinical case studies we've gathered over the year. And I'm happy to take any questions. Salil, I cannot hear you. If you're speaking, you've been muted.
Thank you. So I said thank you, Ziv. We have received a few questions here. Before I show it, I will read them to you. I want to give the opportunity for our audience as well to send us questions. I remind you, you can also write the questions in Chinese. You cannot mute yourself, but you can write them down. So welcome to raise questions. I will start with one of the questions that I received. So yeah, you are already active in China and working with Chinese hospitals. What is your advantage in China? compared, I guess they mean compared to other similar technologies?
Well, interestingly, in China specifically, there is a interesting competition from other local products that are competing. We have several advantages. I'm not sure this is the right forum, but just to be brief, most of the products are cloud-based in China, while our product is server-based. It offers several advantages related to the accuracy of the data and to patient confidentiality. We have been clinically proved dramatically and much more than any other Chinese local player. We are at disadvantage in pricing, obviously, but I think that our technology, proven technology, and the level of testing of our product compared to other products speaks for itself.
Thank you. Any other questions from our participants? Okay, one question is, wait, let me see if in the chat we see. Jimmy, you can also, or Dale, please remind them and write in Chinese if they wish. I received here another one. What were your main difficulties entering the Chinese market?
I think that like every other market, and it's not different in China from every other market that we operate in, the team needs to be comfortable with the system. Generally speaking, medical teams are relatively conservative. They are comfortable with the practices they know, and implementing new technologies and new ways of work, even as beneficial as it may be, it's always a challenge. Nurses are extremely loaded with work, and for them to adopt a new technology, it's a process. So it's been our challenge globally and in China as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Ziv.
Thank you.
For now, I don't see any more questions in the chat room, but obviously, like we said, we will receive more. Wait, maybe I do see, even though we have 1 more minute left.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's private. I get private messages. So we will send you later once we receive more questions.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you very much for the interesting. So I want to invite our next speaker for today and our last speaker from today, Guy Halpering from Innovitic. Let me unmute her. Oh, wait.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Yes, here's Ziv. Hi, Ziv. You are welcome to share with us your PPT if you have one, if you're prepared.
Yeah, no problem. So the PowerPoint presentation is up.
I stopped sharing mine, but let's try to share yours, and let's see that we don't have any we don't experience any troubles here. Because with mine there was someone start drawing on it and it was suspicious. Guy is going to share with us the title of his presentation is Empowering the Chain of Survival, and they have a very interesting story and also interesting product to share with us that is relevant to our current situation with the COVID-19.
Okay, just a minute.
If you want to start without PPT, it's also possible. We can't see you, so if you have a video, it would be better.
You cannot see me?
No, your video is closed.
You sure? I can actually see myself and.
Okay, so I know what's the problem. It's I put Ziv and not Yotam. No, guys, both Yotam and Ziv. I cannot. Okay, now Yotam video, right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so we see Ziv using Yotam's video, and hopefully you can share from there your PPT. Otherwise, you can start by introducing us your story.
Yes, okay, so just share the screen. Okay, you can see me now? You can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So, hi, my name is Yotam from Innovitech. Innovitech is a privately held company established in 2011. It is a privately owned company with a purpose and a target to develop and manufacture devices for out-of-hospital critical care in the emergency field. All of our solutions that have been developed by us are intended for use by various levels of care, starting from a layperson up until the most skilled physician. Our solutions are targeting both all of the respiratory field, cardiac, trauma, and medical emergencies. As I said, our mission is to improve the patient's survivability in respiratory, cardiac, trauma, and medical emergencies by providing first responders and healthcare providers with cutting-edge life-saving solutions, all in order to empower the chain of survival. Now, what you can see over here is what is commonly known as the chain of survival. Those are all of the participants and the factors that are joining with saving lives and improving the patient outcome eventually. This is the factors that we as a company would like to affect, starting from the home, the readiness, first responders, emergency dispatch, and going all the way through the EMS up until arriving to the hospital. So our intention is to affect all of them. Now, the first solution that I'm going to present you today is the Ventway Sparrow. The Ventway Sparrow is a portable turbine ventilator intended for use both in and out of the hospital. This ventilator has came to be really, really relevant today during the pandemic, during COVID-19, but actually we have launched it way before the COVID-19 pandemic. It was initially launched in the end of 2019, sorry, in the end of 2018, the beginning of 2019, and is already in use by over 20 countries around the world. This ventilator is unique due to the combination between very, very small characteristics, including 1 kilo in weight, and you can see over here in this picture, you can see the size of the device. But from the other...
Yotam, sorry to interrupt you, but we don't see your PPT. So we see some other picture, some kind of background. So either it's from you or we have some interrupt, or I think maybe you should stop sharing because I think it's someone from outside. I'm afraid of
stop sharing. Just a minute, I will stop sharing and I will try to do it.
And maybe try again. It's a picture of a water.
So it's my background picture.
Okay, so at least it's from your own computer, meaning that you need to figure out how to choose the right screen to share.
Okay.
And thank you for Aaron for noticing that.
Yes, definitely.
Still the beautiful background, but not the PPT.
Just a minute.
Bear with us, everyone. We know it's the last presentation, but it's an interesting one. While they're fixing it, I do see some of our participants in the Chinese side are still here with us. And again, we want to thank you for coming. And if you want to say something, or a question that you didn't have time to ask before, I'm happy to unmute you. I can do it one by one. So just raise a hand and we will unmute you for further questions.
Maybe now you can see better?
We still see the same, unfortunately.
The same. Okay,
Yes.
what about now?
I see your mouse moving, but the picture is the same. Ah, okay, I know what to do. I should have the presentation as well. Okay, you try fixing it and I will try to open it from my...
Yeah, if you can open it from your computer, it would be great.
But it will take some time. Ziv, I do suggest that instead of being so quiet, if you can tell us more, not related to the PPT while I'm trying to open it, maybe continue either your explanation or...
Yes, definitely. So I will continue my explanation verbally, and I hope that you can follow up if you have any questions. So unfortunately, there is no presentation right now, but I will try to follow up. So we are the manufacturer of a ventilator called the Ventway Sparrow. As I said, this is the world's smallest turbine ventilator for use both in and out of the hospital. So our ventilator is sold in over 20 countries around the world, being used in 3 different segments. The first segment would be in-hospital use for, yes, this is the presentation. Thank you very much. So you can go down to slide number 5.
Perfect.
Yes, so this is the ventilator, if anyone is just seeing, so this is how it looks like. As it's written, it's only 1 kilo in weight, and it's very portable. It's used for the following segments: in hospital, everything including in-hospital transport, intra-hospital transport, post-surgery recovering, pre-ICU ventilator for any of the internal departments. Basically, it is an all-around ventilator for in-hospital, being able to serve over 90% of the patient, especially patients who haven't yet reached the critical phase and are not positioned in the ICU, which are, especially today during the pandemic, and also before, are most of the ventilated patients. The characteristics of the ventilation, if you can scroll down to the next slide. One more. Yeah, so the characteristics of the ventilation, as you guys can see, are high spec. We're talking about 4 modes of ventilation, both volume control and pressure control, SIMV, including also CPAP mode. Very high tidal volume, up to 2 liters. And as you can see, in general, this ventilator can serve almost any patient between out of the hospital and also in hospital. The ventilator is also including the use of invasive and non-invasive ventilation, and also incorporate leak compensation in a very, very efficient way. Ever since, I will just give you a half-a-minute background about the usage so far. Ever since COVID-19 and the pandemic have started, we have been approached by the Israeli government as a part of a centralized purchasing program in which we are supplying 3,000 of those ventilators to the Israeli Ministry of Health, and from there to all of the hospitals in Israel in order to cope with the pandemic. Same thing is happening in various other countries around the world that have approached Innovitech and chose the Ventway Sparrow to be one of the main ventilators for the emerging COVID-19 departments that are being opened throughout the world in as a special department to treat COVID-19 patients, and also generally for a general ventilation usage that is going on in every hospital. So our main customers will be from the UK, from Spain, from Italy. All of the main outbreak centers are buying equipment from us in order to treat COVID-19 patients, being the fact that ventilator can supply whatever a COVID-19 patient should need in a ventilation scenario, which is both pressure control and volume control modes of ventilation, high PEEP, high flow, and increased breath rate. If you can go on to the next slide, please. Yes, go another one, scroll down. Yes, so the ventilator was manufactured to withstand in all of the harshest standards for water and dust resistance, vibration, drop, all of the environmental standardization for a medical ventilator. We have tested the Ventway Sparrow not only for that, but also for all of the electromagnetic compliance and all of the needed standardization to work both in and out of the hospital. I will go through, just before I would say that the ventilator is authorized both by the CE for the European Union and also by FDA. We have also got the TGA approval for Australia, and we are currently working on the CFDA certification, which is not completed yet. Moving forward to the SALI system, you can scroll down. Another one, yes. So our next solution is the SALI system. SALI is basically a full critical aid system. If you can scroll down to number 13. Thank you. So SALI system is basically the combination between your ordinary AED that you can find almost anywhere in every public place today, especially according to the new laws that have been published recently. The system basically combines between defibrillation capabilities as a part of the semi-automatic AED, which is inside, audio-visual guided CPR, automated oxygen therapy by an internal O2 cylinder that is in the system, and by that being able to provide a constant and interchangeable flow of between 5 and 10 liters per minute for the patient, and also non-invasive airway management. You can see that the headrest for the patient, which is in the right side of the screen, is intended to place the patient's head in the position of a head tilt where his airway will be open. So the SALI system is intended for the use by laypersons. This system is intended to be placed outside in any medical safe zone that the customer would like to achieve. You can consider the usage of the SALI in almost anywhere where there is a large amount of people, and that you would like to consider it as a medical safe zone. Why is that? Not only due to the treatment capabilities of the system, SALI can also transmit all of the vital signs of the patient, which are the blood saturation, the heart rate, the ECG curve, and the breath rate, directly from the device. Let's say it is the movies or some kind of a mall or any public place, directly to the emergency center, where the dispatcher that is responsible of dispatching ambulance can see, observe all of the vital signs that are getting from the SALI where the injured patient is, and going directly to the professional paramedic or dispatcher that is located in the emergency center, where he can both see the vital signs and communicate with the caregiver on the ground up until the ambulance will be arriving. Basically, what the system is doing is minimizing the efficient treatment of the patient from, let's say, 10, 15, 20 minutes until the ambulance is arriving, to actually 1 minute or 2 minutes, up until someone is bringing Sally over. So efficient treatment and basically hospital in the scene is something that today is possible by using the Sally. If you can scroll down, please. Yes, so we have already established a few projects. Some of them are national projects with the device. We have started in Germany by deploying several systems over there in a collaboration with the local EMS, the German Red Cross, and also the municipality over there. And we have continued our efforts in the project in Israel with the cooperation with MADA, the Israeli Emergency Services. We have also a major project in Romania in collaboration with the Ministry of Internal Services over there, together with the major retail company called Lidl. We have positioned 500 units in community areas and in supermarkets over there in collaboration with their national medical emergency services. And all of those systems are working and basically improving the healthcare dramatically than just positioning a simple AED that can only take care of a very, very narrow and a limited, let's say, limited amount of cardiac problems. Please, if you can scroll down. Another one, please. This is just an example of some of our products that we've done. This is the press release from the project that we've done in Romania. Yeah, please scroll down. Another one. Yes, go down, please, to 18. Yes. So I know that I'm in a hurry, but I will keep some time for question later. The third product that I'm going to speak about is the Lubo. The Lubo is a non-invasive airway management device that is combined with a C-spine immobilization, like a neck brace. Basically what the device is doing, it's very simple, much simpler than the two other devices that I just presented. The Lubo, if you can scroll down, please, to 20. And yes. So the Lubo is basically, no, please go up to 19. Yes. So the Lubo is a combination between a neck brace, basically a C-collar that immobilizing the cervical spine of the patient that is injured, and also contributes to the airway management by imitating what is called the jaw thrust maneuver. If you can see on the right side of the three neck braces that are presented here in the picture, you can see the orange cup. This orange part is actually placed on the patient mandible area, on the face, on the patient mandible area, where if there is a need for airway management, the caregiver, which would be the paramedic or the EMT that is located in the hospital, in the emergency team that arrived to the scene, will be able to very simply extract the patient mandible forward, like it's used to by hand so far, by using the jaw thrust maneuver. The only difference is now the Lubo is doing it almost automatically. So once the Lubo is being placed on the patient, the caregiver can extract the patient mandible forward and therefore manage his airway and open his airway to a more advanced treatment, like either intubation or any kind of airway treatment that this patient would need. What makes the Lubo special about it is the fact that you shouldn't remove the collar at all when you would like to manage the patient airway. So the Lubo is actually two devices in one, both an airway management device and a neck immobilization device that frees another pair of hands for the treatment in the patient. The Lubo is very, very easy to use, already distributed in various countries, especially in Europe. Regarding regulation and the authorization to sell this device, we have all of the needed certification, both from the CE, from the FDA, from the CFDA, And due to the fact that this is a class 1 device, it's a non-invasive device, it is very, very easy to register and to start selling it in almost any territory. The Lubo comes in various sizes. We have a military model, a civilian model, and also a model for kids, what we call the mini Lubo. If you can scroll down to slide number 21, yes, you can see the different segments of the market, both for military, for kids, and for the civilian
1 minute left.
segments. I think I'm done. I know I have gone over those.
It's okay. We have some questions already for you. Do you see the chat room? I will read you the first question. You can also see them in the chat room. Everyone, you're welcome to add more questions to the chat room. So the first one from the 4th Hospital of Changsha. They ask you why the size of the breathing machine is so small. How can it provide oxygen in different concentration?
So the size of the ventilation machine is so small because we intended it to be an all-around ventilator. First of all, for use both in and out of the hospital. So when we're talking about in hospital and also out of hospital, you have to get different characteristics for the ventilator. Especially for the out of hospital scene, there is a need for the transport of the patient. And for transportation, you would need a very compact, very, let's say, a device that you can take together with you and without carrying around too much equipment with a very, let's say, large characteristics. What we aimed for is a very compact, very mobile device to be able to carry it around. Either it is from the point of injury to the hospital or in the hospital between departments together with the patient, of course. Being a turbine ventilator also highly contributed to the fact that you don't need, in theory, you do not need any kind of a O2 cylinder in order for this device to work because it is a turbine ventilator. Now, regarding O2, since this is a turbine ventilator, you can also connect it with an external O2 source in order to enrich the inspiratory air mixture from 21% of FiO2 up until 100%.
Okay, thank you, Guy. The second question is from the second People's Hospital. I will put them on spotlight because they have a beautiful room there with all the doctors. They ask, how does the machine, I can also unmute you if you want to ask it out loud. How does the machine do CPR?
So a ventilator is not doing CPR. A ventilator can support a CPR. Wait, can you please revert back this question? Are we talking about Sally or about the ventilator?
Here they are asking it by themselves. Let's hear them. Second, People Hospital, we repeat the question. Can you repeat the question? 用中文也可以问。
How does the machine do CPR automatically? The machine do CPR automatically.
We're talking about the ventilator or we're talking about Sally?
Which one of the products are you referring to?
介绍3种，哪一种？对。
对。
第一种、第二种、第三种。
他说了好几种仪器。
他不是上面写的，他的优势就是。
Guy, you can put the PPT again because they are not sure which.
是哪个？一个是这个，一个是这个，呼吸机，还有一个是这个，
能做 CPR 那个，
还有一个就是一个那个颈部的。
但是哪一种我也不知道。我就知道它的优势，它这个机器的优势能做 CPR。
Okay, let's move first to the next question. Until you decide about the product. There is another question here from Mia Feng. What is the production capacity now? Where does it manufacture?
现在可以说。
是另外一个人的问题。
来问吧。
I moved to, sorry, I'm just gonna tell the guys in the Second People's Hospital, we moved to the next question until you find the device that you would like to ask about. I see that he found it, let's see. You want to show us what you meant, Second People's Hospital?
那可以说了。Just now you mentioned a machine that can do CPR.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, this one. Is this a part of the ventilator?
So, if we're talking about
how to perform CPR， 是不是这意思啊？
这是不是呼吸机的一个部分？
Yeah, you understood the question?
Yes, yes, I understand the question. I would like to answer. SALI is a device that is monitoring the patient. Once a patient is treated by SALI, the patient is connected to a monitoring system that includes the monitoring of his breath rate, heart rate, SpO2, and ECG. Now, SALI has a treatment algorithm which is in accordance to the international guidelines. Once SALI detects there is a pause or there is no signal from all of the sensors that includes either the ECG, the SpO2 is decreasing, and the breath rate is decreasing, and SALI detects that the patient is deteriorating and losing consciousness. So once SALI is detecting all of those vital signs to be decreasing and deteriorating, and as it will automatically initiate a CPR process where it will guide the caregiver that is near the patient via an audio and video instructions about how to treat the patient and start CPR by showing him the right place where to put the hands in order to start the chest press, and also actually alarming on a special voice indication in accordance to the intervals between the chest press, just like any AED, sorry. In addition to that, the dispatcher, which is connected from the other side of the line, the dispatcher in the dispatch center, which is connected to the SALI, will be also alerted about this issue and will be able to provide telephone or basically audio guided CPR.
I hope this answered your question. If you want to follow up on this question and any other questions, because of the time limit, I suggest that we will collect all your questions in one file and we will send it privately later to the speaker, to Guy and his company, and we will you will be able to participate in the B2B meeting with him after this session. Let's try to address one more question, Guy, from Mia Feng. Can you see it? She's asking about your production capacity and where do you manufacture?
Yes, what is the production capacity now? Where does it manufacture? So, let me address about all of those, all of our devices, all of our solutions. So the production capacity for the ventilator, the first product that I started with, the Ventway Sparrow, is currently 500 pieces per month. We are ramping up for 1,500 pieces per month as from August. We are manufacturing it in various sites, including one in China and 2 in Israel. Now regarding the SALI, we have a production capacity of 100 pieces per month, and we're ramping up to 500 pieces per month. We are manufacturing this device in Israel. And for the Lubo, we have a production capacity of 20,000 devices per month. We can ramp up to over 100,000 devices per month, and we are manufacturing it in China.
Okay, I hope this also answered the question. It was very thorough. I want to thank Guy for his presentation. I saw there are more questions. Unfortunately, we do not have the time to answer them all now, but as we said, you are all welcome to join and to write us to IsCham team and to join our B2B meetings with the companies that presented today. Jingyi, do you want to say the same in Chinese? I will also share with everyone our contact information. But you know, you already know us, and all of you who already joined our previous webinars and seminars. You know that we are sending a follow-up email with all the information, including the presenters' PPTs and the information that you need for further communications. Jingyi? Ah, okay, sorry, you're unmuted. Sorry. Jingyi will now say the same in Chinese for the Chinese speakers. Yes, go ahead, sorry.
很感谢大家今晚能够参加我们的这个线上活动，然后相信大家还会有一些问题想要向今天的这些演讲者来提问。那么我们在后面呢会举办一些这个 B2B 的这个就是1对1的这种会议，然后并且也会收集大家的问题，然后统一来进行回答，并且提供文字版的相应的这个答案。所以就是也请大家继续关注以色列商会，然后也继续关注我们后续的一些活动和进展。谢谢。
Thank you, Jingyi, and thanks everyone for joining us. We are also on the Facebook. We live stream this on the IsCham Facebook page and the IsCham Weibo page. Here I finally am able to share it with you. Just 1 second. Here we go. Okay, so welcome to follow us, and you will hear from us very, very soon. We wish you all a good week. Goodbye.谢谢大家。